Thank you very much for that presentation. Our next presentation will be by Kathryn Pryor. She comes to us as the Chief Health Physicist at the Pacific Northwest Laboratory in Richland, Washington. She's received numerous awards and accommodation over the years. I suggest that you go to her bio that's listed in the program. She has a very interesting presentation. We want to be able to move quickly to that. Her presentation today is about membership trends in the Health Physics Society. How did we get here, and where are we going? Thank you.
All right, well, today I'm going to be talking about membership trends in the Health Physics Society. And I'm going to be, membership trends have been a topic of discussion for a long time in the Health Physics Society, at least the last 20 years, if not longer. I'm going to be reviewing membership trends over the life of the Health Physics Society, and then discussing some of the trends and challenges that face both the HPS and other professional societies and associations. And then I will go into a little bit about HPS initiatives moving forward into the future. And just full disclosure, I am the membership committee chair for the Health Physics Society, so this is a subject of some interest to me. So, in the early years, the 1940s and 1950s, there was a rapid expansion of the field of health physics, and that was due to things like weapons development and the birth of commercial nuclear power. So there was some interest on the part of folks to form a group that was dedicated to discussing radiation protection issues. And so, the Ohio State University Health Physics Conference was held in May of 1955, and those interested parties got together, held an organizational meeting, and the participants voted 180 to 15 to form a distinct professional society. They thought about affiliating with other organizations such as the American Industrial Hygiene Association or American Institute of Physics, but after they evaluated that at some length, they decided to form their own professional society, and so the HPS was born officially on June 25th, 1956. And so word of this professional society spread pretty rapidly, at least by the standards of the 1950s, and the membership ranks, which started at about 212 members, by the end of 1957 had grown to 800. So that's an exciting time for the Health Physics Society, lots of firsts. There was the first annual meeting in Ann Arbor, Michigan in '56, the first mid-year topical symposium in Chicago in '67. The Health Physics Journal began being published in June of '58, and the ABHP, the American Board of Health Physics, was formed, and the first certification exam was administered in 1960. And the first local chapters were authorized by the HPS in 1959, although some of them had existed previously. They were chapters at that point. And I thought it was kind of interesting that one of the first volume, actually the first volume of the Health Physics Journal, contained a paper entitled, "What is Health Physics?" That's still being asked today. So this graph just shows the membership growth over the first decade of the HPS's existence. And so by 1966, there were about 3,000 members. So that's pretty good growth. Then we move into the 1970s, the 80s, and the 90s. And this was still a period of growth for the Health Physics Society. The total membership numbers peaked in 1994 at close to 6,500 members. Plenary membership actually peaked earlier than that in 1985 at about 5,300 members. The emeritus and fellowship membership categories were also growing during this time. So emeritus members, by the end of the 90s, there were about 500 emeritus members. And the fellow members, that's an awarded membership class that was established in '84, that numbered 82 by the end of the 90s. And then the student membership also steadily increased from 1957 through the mid-90s, and it peaked in 1995 at about 600 students. So this is just a graph of what I just explained. The top, so this is membership from 75 through 99. The top line is the total membership of the HPS, and the second line, that purple line, is the plenary members. So you can see things are going along pretty well, increase, and then things start declining. You can tell the membership numbers were beginning to trend downward in the late 1990s. And there were concerns that were beginning to emerge about the graying of the HPS. Ken Mossman and John Poston published a paper in 1988 that Dick Toohey mentioned on HP education and training, and at that point they were identifying the loss of academic programs and the potential for significant shortfalls of radiation protection professionals in the next 15 years. So HPS leadership began to consider the effects of the demographic trends during that time. So this shows the membership being extended out through the present. We hit the new century or the new millennium, and the membership numbers are continuing to decline. Right now, the plenary, or what we now call the full membership class, is down to about 2,500. That was in 2014. And we had a little spike there in 2013. Everybody got excited about that. We don't really know why we had a little spike in membership, except it could have been related potentially to interest post-Fukushima and radiation issues. So the HPS leadership recognized the impending shortfall of qualified radiation protection professionals across multiple employment sectors. And so in 2002, President John Fraser formed the Human Capital Crisis Task Force. That was chaired by Kevin Nelson, who went on to become a president of the HPS, and had representatives on it from a number of different employment sectors. They gathered a lot of data, and they published a white paper in July of 2004, which identified the need for at least 6,700 more radiation protection professionals in the near term, and the near term was the next decade, basically. That particular white paper was used to revise the position statement 15 for the Health Physics Society on the human capital crisis and radiation safety. And that's the position statement that HPS presidents take on every congressional visit to go and advocate for funding for the NRC's integrated university programs. So that's an important position statement for us. So the graying of the HPS, yep, it's a real thing. This is a graph of the age distribution between 2000 and 2015. As membership committee chair, I see that we do have a steady stream of applicants, but they don't offset the loss of members due to age, illness, death, or leaving the field. And since 2005, over 50% of the membership is over 50 years of age. And furthermore, there's an age gap. Our membership is missing members in the 30s and their early 40s. You've seen this graph before, and other people will talk about academic programs, so all I'll say here is that fewer programs means fewer graduates, and that means fewer people entering the field, and that means fewer future members. So that's a bad thing. This graph shows the student membership trends in the Health Physics Society, and that's from 1975 through the present. And what jumps out at you immediately is, what the heck happened in the early 2000s? The membership numbers dropped precipitously for the students, and then actually increased and peaked again in 2013 at about 600 students. But as you can tell, it's starting to tail off again. So, is this problem unique to the HPS? No. Declining membership trends are a common problem for many professional organizations. So this isn't just isolated to radiation-related organizations. You've seen this graph before too, but this is the Radiation Research Society's membership trends, I think from 2003 through about 2012, and that top line is their full members, and you can tell that's declining as well. So what about other organizations? Well, the ASAE is an association of association executives. It's people who manage professional societies and associations. And they have a foundation that conducts research on association management and leadership issues. And they've published a number of different reports that show that associations are all facing the same trends in declining membership. They published this particular book, The Race for Relevance, that a few years ago the HPS Board of Directors was all tasked with reading. And what was interesting to me was the first chapter in this book, which was all about societal changes and factors that influence membership trends. And these are just a few of them. But the primary one is competition for people's time and attention. There's a lot of things going on in people's lives. And you have competition with your family, with possibly church, hobbies, recreation, other volunteer opportunities. They had mentioned the need to be able to effectively capitalize on technology, being able to use the internet effectively, electronic communications, leveraging social media. Those are all important things. There are generational differences in people's expectations or their values when they join groups. And in fact, one of the bigger trends anymore is young professionals forming their own groups, not necessarily based on a single profession, but based more on age and geographical area and cross-cutting through multiple professions. You have the phenomena of market consolidation, where you have little companies getting gobbled up by big companies. That results in things like fewer affiliate members for the HPS. And at the same time, you have an interest in specialists wanting to form more narrowly focused specialty groups that are more relevant to what they do. Frankly, we have competition between professional organizations for the same membership pool, and not everybody is interested in joining multiple societies or professional organizations, so they're going to pick the ones that are most valuable to them, maybe one or two. We have increased expectations for the value of membership, both on the part of individuals and on their employers. And frankly, we have less employer support, so there's tight budgets and travel restrictions. So what's the answer? I wish I had a great answer, but there is no real magic bullet. The WARP report provides a number of recommendations that are very good to increase the number of radiation professionals, and HPS's goal is to provide a home for those radiation protection professionals, to provide networking, professional resources, and continuing education opportunities. The HPS Board of Directors recently kicked off a strategic planning initiative, and they recently revisited their mission and vision statements and asked questions like, well, where are we going? And what do we want to be in the future? And they're just about to kick off an initiative to solicit membership input to ask the members, well, what do you think a strong and healthy HPS looks like? And what's important to you as a member? Well, that's great because we're asking members who are already members what they want to see in their society, but what's a much harder thing to do is to find out why non-members, who we think should be members, aren't members. That's a tough one, and I don't know that anybody's figured that out yet. But one of the most important things is that member engagement is critical to the success of the organization. The more members are invested in the activities of the HPS, the more likely they are to be retained as members. And that takes some mentorship and some encouragement by current members, more senior members of the society, both on a local level and nationally. And another thing that's kind of a challenge is we need to be able to create opportunities to volunteer or to be involved in the face of that shrinking employer support and the tight travel budgets. We need to be able to attract and retain our students. There are interesting and there's well-paying jobs that are out there, and they will attract students, or they'll help at least, but we need to be able to more clearly and effectively communicate the variety of radiation-related positions and opportunities that are out there. And frankly, the term health physics is not very well understood. It's not generally unfamiliar to the public, and that includes our future students. And that gets back to the Health Physics Society's name, which has been the subject of debate since its inception, and it gets discussed every few years, and it pretty much stays the Health Physics Society. So we also need to provide more financial support to students in academic programs. As I mentioned before, the HPS leadership goes and advocates for funding of the NRC's integrated university programs on every congressional visit. But only a fraction of that IUP funding actually goes to support academic programs in health physics, and more supportive academic programs is needed. The HPS provides some partial scholarships and grants to students. We also provide resources on employment and internship opportunities, and we provide a little bit of support post-graduation in the form of extending student status to student members while they're looking for a job, and in reduced dues, both in that student status extension and early career, the early career category has reduced dues. We've been working very hard to encourage student participation in HPS activities. The Student Support Committee was formed a few years ago with student representatives from the academic programs. And the chair is actually a member of the president's advisory panel, which means that the chair goes to all of the board meetings and attends the board teleconferences. We have travel grants that we provide for students to come and attend meetings. We're looking for opportunities to involve students and have them participate on projects with other HPS standing committees. And of course, they can become involved in the student branches and the local chapters. HPS leadership continues to look for ways to increase the value of membership. And we've always, well, for a long time, we've provided ANSI HPS N13 and N43 standards at no cost. We've recently been able to provide ICRU reports at no cost. We provide discounts on NCRP reports and publications, which are useful to members. Just a recent thing, annual meeting presentations are now posted to the members-only website, so if you can't travel, you have the ability to at least look at the presentations. And then we provide a full set of professional development courses, both at the meetings and then available for download afterwards. So, in conclusion, HPS faces a number of challenges in maintaining future membership levels, just like many other organizations do. So we plan to maintain a focus on the communication of opportunities, on increasing member engagement in the society, and continuing to support our students. So in closing, HPS stands ready to support the NCRP in implementing the WARP recommendations and in providing professional resources and support to the next generation of radiation protection professionals. Thanks.